Welcome, everyone. Good evening. My name is Billy Strean, and welcome to your session on mindfulness and meditation. During the session, you'll have an opportunity to try some various practices around mindfulness and meditation. And the idea is that you can find one or more things that you like, that maybe you can continue to practice and build your ability in mindfulness. So to get us started, wherever you may have been today, to get you to settle in, you can just begin to get comfortable wherever you're sitting, or if you're standing, you can take a nice dignified posture, standing up comfortably. Begin to notice your breath. And if you like, you can take a moment and close your eyes. Just if you're sitting, you can feel yourself in your seat. You can feel maybe your back against your seat. Just notice your breath. Maybe you're feeling your breath in your belly, or maybe feeling your breath coming in your nose, and out your nose. And you can let go of any thoughts from today, and just really arrive and be here. And just bring yourself fully and get ready for the next hour or less, and begin to explore this world of mindfulness and meditation. So if your eyes are closed, you can blink them a few times. And maybe just give yourself a little shake and get ready to go. So if you would like, when we talk about meditation or mindfulness, that might mean different things to different people. So you might just type a word or two or three in the chat. What does mindfulness mean to you? Or what do you think of when you think of mindfulness? See, it keeps your brain calm. Anybody else? Serenity, be calm, peaceful. Great, staying calm, relaxed in the moment. Calm body or clam body, that's kind of fun too. Okay, great. So if you want to take a moment just finishing that up, you see that, yeah, lots of people have things around peace and relaxation and being calm. And we'll see that mindfulness can also be about being aware, about paying attention. And we'll also see what you can get out of practicing mindfulness and meditation. So why would we bother to talk about mindfulness or practice it? Well, one of the things we know is that everybody faces challenges. Maybe you feel stress. And in a simple way, practicing mindfulness gives you a chance to give your brain a rest. And in the same way you brush your teeth to get the gunk out of your mouth, or practicing meditation can be like brushing your teeth for your brain or your nervous system. And we face a lot of stimulation, looking at our phones and computers. So this is a way to take a break from that as well. So we can start off just thinking about some of, what is mindfulness and why would we want to bother? Now, I've been practicing meditation for more than 30 years. And for a long time, it seemed like kind of an unusual thing that people would do. And it started getting more popular. And when it made it to the cover of Time magazine, we knew, all right, this is more in the mainstream. And people were talking about a mindfulness revolution. And we may see that maybe we've gone too far in some cases. But we started seeing mindfulness showing up in schools. And I've actually been doing a project looking at what people in the Edmonton area are doing as far as using mindfulness for well-being and helping students. It's practiced in high schools. And I knew that mindfulness was a big deal when it made it on to 60 Minutes, and Anderson Cooper went and participated in a mindfulness weekend. And he said,
it's interesting. It's rare that you do a story like this and find that it actually kind of changes your life.
So he described being pretty skeptical. And after spending a weekend learning about mindfulness and meditation, he said this was one of those rare experiences where it really changed his life. Okay, are you ready to try another exercise? For this one, you could do it sitting down, or if you'd like, you can try it standing up. And for this one, you're just going to take your hands and hold them in front of you. And I'm going to say 3, 2, 1. And then we're all going to clap together with a good hard clap. 1, 2, 3. All right, so here we go. 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3. And then just let your hands be in front of you. And just notice if you feel any tingling. Maybe in your right palm, notice what you feel. And then maybe go to your left pinky finger. And what do you notice? Are any sensations? Streaming, pulsing? Do you feel anything there? And then maybe go to the back of your right hand. Do you feel anything there? What do you notice? What are you aware of? And you can relax. So we could say that we just practiced mindfulness. That if you were paying attention right now and you noticed or were aware of what was going on in your palm or in your finger, you could say that was being mindful because you're paying attention to something that's happening now. Your attention wasn't on something that happened earlier or something that was going to happen. So if we say, well, what is mindfulness? Well, a lot of the things you said would fit with this definition. And we could say that mindfulness is about paying attention in a particular way. So you're putting your attention on something. Could be the feeling in your hand. It might be your breath. So you're doing that on purpose in the present moment, so right now, and doing it without judgment. So with mindfulness, you take that spirit of everything is okay. So you're accepting whatever shows up. And this symbol is also for mindfulness. And in some languages or cultures, there's no separation between our mind and our heart. So it's not just being mindful, but it's being full-hearted right now. So a big focus is everything's okay, so non-judgmentally. And we also want to feel curious. There's a sense of, I don't know, I'm wondering, I'm paying attention. And this idea of compassion, which is for ourselves and for others. So everybody faces challenges, and compassion is reducing our suffering and helping to reduce the suffering of others. So that's all part of what we accomplish with mindfulness. So I teach at University of Alberta, and that's how I got to know Justin. And one of the reasons that I found mindfulness was really useful and interesting was that most of the students, when we looked, said that they felt overwhelmed, exhausted, lonely, and sad. And I think a lot of us feel that way. And we want to have something to help us with that. And mindfulness is one of those things that can help us to connect with ourselves, to help us deal with feeling overwhelmed and exhausted, and maybe help us feel a little bit better. So a really simple way to talk about mindfulness is you could say this is how we tend to spend our lives. We have most of our attention. We're either thinking about something that already happened, so it happened in the past, or we're thinking about what's going to happen, what's happening in the future. So even though we've been here for less than 15 minutes, you may have noticed, you can check it out right now, that maybe that at some point you started thinking about something that happened earlier today. Or maybe you've had a thought about what you're going to do later tonight or tomorrow. And the only time that life actually happens is now. And we want to be able to spend more time now. So all the joy of life is now, in the present. So here's what mindfulness can do. It can make the past and the future and our attention on that less, and bring more and more of our attention to right now, being present. So the present is like when you get a present, it's a gift that we want to put our time and attention being here now. Now, I don't know if any of you have heard of Thich Nhat Hanh, but maybe you've heard of Dalai Lama. So if Dalai Lama's the number one guy, we might say Thich Nhat Hanh's number two. And he said, the present moment is filled with joy and happiness. If you are attentive, you will see it. So it might be as simple as you put your attention right here now. So maybe you notice your breath. And you think, wow, that's really good. I'm glad I'm breathing. It's better than not breathing. And that we can find joy and happiness just by being present. So if you think about any time you wanted to do something or maybe make a change, the first thing you need to do is pay attention. So if you want to get better at a sport, you might think, okay, what is it that I want to get better at? Maybe I want to get stronger. Maybe I want to be more flexible. Maybe I want to get better at some skills. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pay attention, and then I'm going to develop some awareness. Now I know, okay, this is how it goes. So I may notice if I pay attention that I tend to think about what am I going to do next? I may find if I sit and I close my eyes, I start thinking about making plans. And if I become more aware of what I do and how I do it, then because I've noticed it, I might have some choice. Maybe I could try to do something different, and then I could take some new action. So I might get better at something like a sport by practicing it. Okay, I did see a hand or two, Justin. I don't know if there's anything that you saw as a question or if anyone had a question that you wanted to ask.
Justin had a question. Justin, do you want to ask your question? I'll just ask to mute here. Oh, Justin, you're muted right now.
Did you want to have someone unmute and ask, or?
There we go.
There.
I just had a question. What does attentive mean? Going back to that.
What is attend?
Attentive.
Attention. So paying attention, putting your focus on something. So if right now, like if I'm looking right at you, I'm attending to you, I'm paying attention to you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Tia, you can ask your question once you unmute.
Oh, yep. Did I unmute myself?
Yep. You're
Yeah.
good. I thought we were doing, is this mindfulness, is this maximum Monday?
Yep.
Are we doing yoga?
No,
No
today's not
yoga
yoga.
tonight, but actually, a big part of yoga is meditation. Most people, because I'm a yoga teacher as well, when people think about yoga, they just think about doing the postures. But yoga really was something people did so that then they could sit and meditate. And now we tend to think of them as two different things. But there's a history of yoga.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Just wondering.
Yeah. Maybe one or two more questions.
Okay. Preston, you can ask one question.
How is it good to do 3 breaks every day you get up? Is it good to, when you get to start the day to go to work? Is it good to do the 3 deep breaths to do before you go to work? Then you have a good day.
I think it's a really good thing to do some kind of practice like meditation or mindfulness in the morning. It's a good way to set you up for the day. So normally when I get up in the morning, the first thing I do is I'll go and I'll sit for 20 minutes. So that's my practice of meditation. So you may
Okay,
find,
thanks.
yeah, you might find you try 5 minutes and see if that works for you. And if you like it, maybe do more the next day.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Preston. And we'll do one more question. So Lori, you had your hand up.
Okay, so when you're, where did it go? The screen just went weird.
Yeah, we lost your video.
There you go. Okay, so I got a question. So all my family members and that have been trying to get me to control, like, because I talk a lot, but they've been trying to get me to see if there's any way out there that can help me concentrate more on, instead of taking over conversations, listen to everybody and let others talk instead of wanting to talk nonstop and scare people off. Is there a way you can help me with that, to make, instead of scaring my friends off, I want to make friends?
Yeah, great question. So one of the things we can all do is we can be more mindful about our speaking. And being mindful usually helps us to be better listeners. So if we just took a breath before we started talking, or if we said, why am I talking? So if you think about those words, why am I talking? The first letter of those spells wait. So sometimes it's good to wait before we talk and think, why am I talking? And maybe give other people a chance to finish what they're saying, take a breath, and then say what we have to say. Often what we'll have to say might be more on purpose, maybe a little bit more peaceful. So let's come back to another.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's come back to another practice. This is one of my very favorites, called centering. And you can try this sitting down, and if it works for you, it's a really good one to try standing up. So whether you're sitting or standing, you want to align yourself. So if you're standing up, you want to check and make sure your knees are over your ankles, your hips are over your knees, your shoulders are above your hips. The back of your head is more or less with the back of your spine, the bottom of your spine. And you can let your arms just hang by your side and let your breath just drop towards your belly. And if you're sitting, you just want to sit up so you're in a good, upright, alert, seated position. And either way, we're going to practice putting our attention on different parts of ourselves. So the first thing you can do is start to pay attention to your length. So you can feel your feet all the way up the long bones of your legs to the top of your head. So you're feeling your length, or you could say being present in your length. So just feeling more, sensing more. You're getting more present, more connected to yourself, what you care about. And then putting your attention on your width. So you might even notice moving right to left, left to right, so you're balanced. And you could feel from one side, from your right side all the way to your left side to your right side, just feeling or paying attention to width. And then you can pay attention to your depth. So you can start feeling your back. Often we don't pay attention to our back. So feel your back, feel the back of your legs, and feel your front. And feel the space between your back and your front. That's your depth. And then you can find your center. So if you go to your belly button and go about 2 inches down and about 2 inches in, and imagine that's your center. And see if you can breathe into your center and out from your center. And when you're ready, you can just take a moment. And if you're standing and you want to sit back down, you can do that. Just had a just a little issue with my computer for a second. Let's see. Okay. And a question from Alex.
I got a simple question for you, Billy.
Okay.
So what are the simple ways to calm yourself down when you're stressed out?
So the one we just did, the centering, is a great one to calm yourself down. It's also a great one before you do sports. So right before a game or a competition, just take a moment and pay attention, length, width, depth, center. Breathe into your center, breathe out from your center. That's just a great thing you can do anytime during the day that can help you calm down.
Agreed.
And get ready to perform.
Yeah. So for example, listening to music, take a deep breath, and then just go outside and just take some fresh air.
That's another great thing to do.
Agreed.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Billy, we do have another question from Chris. So Chris, if you want to ask your question.
Okay.
Hi, does mind over matter work?
Well, it depends what we mean by that. Is we could say our mind is very powerful and that the things that we say to ourselves really changes how we experience life. So if that's what we mean, I would say yes. Mind
Okay,
over
thanks.
matter. Yeah, you're welcome. So a few little thoughts about mindfulness. So in a sense, it's really simple, right? There are very few things you could do that's more simple than say, okay, sit down, close your eyes, pay attention to your breath. And it's pretty challenging to not be constantly having thoughts and then thinking about the thoughts. Like thoughts will come up, but to be able to just watch them is challenging. And probably there's almost nothing and something that's free that can do so much good for so many people that a lot of people could really get a lot out of it. And most people will say, when I try this, it's really valuable, but then they resist it. It's like they don't want to do it. They want to get the benefits, but they don't really want to practice. And you only get the benefits if you practice. So lots of people would say, I don't want to meditate, but I would really like the results, like peace, connecting to others, maybe to the world, or maybe simply to relax. So some other reasons why we might do mindfulness. Well, one is it can help us with our mental performance. For example, that when students practice mindfulness, we've seen that they do better on tests. And a lot of people don't do as well as they could on tests or in school because they get nervous or stressed. And being able to be more calm, more focused is going to help us with our mental performance. Now, as athletes, you might like to know that mindfulness is also really good for better sports performance. And some of you may know about Phil Jackson, who was the coach of the Chicago Bulls when they won all those championships. He's also the coach of the Lakers. And he had his team practicing mindfulness, and that it certainly helped them to perform better. And I also know he had them practicing yoga. A friend of mine in California, who is a sports psychologist and a yoga teacher, worked with the Los Angeles Lakers. So if you're yoga people and you remember Shaquille O'Neal, you can imagine a 7-foot guy doing the downward dog. Well, that's what they did. And it's something that you can see that may help you with your sports. Okay. So how do we go about practicing mindfulness? How do we do it? Well, one is sometimes we make it a little bit, I think, too serious. And we can have some enjoyment. It can be something that we can play with or have some fun or explore. And one of the biggest things, as I said, is this idea of non-judgment. The idea that everything is okay. And almost anybody I've ever seen try to practice meditation, they think, oh, I'm not doing it right. And they think that if I'm doing it right, my mind will go completely blank and I'll be all peaceful and Zen or something like that. And the nature of the mind is the mind makes thoughts. So if you find yourself having thoughts, if you sit and close your eyes and put your attention on your breath, you're doing just fine. And if you catch yourself thinking, oh, I'm not doing it right, you want to let go of any judgment and just accept how you're doing things. So one side is paying attention. The other side is all about acceptance, that everything is okay. So let's do some more practice. So I may have said that I practiced yoga and I practiced meditation for a long time. And what I found was for years, the hardest thing I did in a day was to sit and meditate. And I tried lots of different ways of meditating, and I still found it really hard. And a couple of years ago, when I was doing some yoga teacher training, I met this guy named Matthew Remsky, and I knew he was a meditation teacher as well. And I told him about my challenges. And he said, oh, you should get this book. It's called Unlearning Meditation. So we're going to practice this idea of unlearning meditation. So right now you could just find, a quiet spot. I hope that that's where you are. And then this could be something that you play with and try perhaps tomorrow morning, and you can decide How long will I sit? Maybe when you're starting out, maybe just a few minutes. And there's no way you have to sit, there's no right way. You want to find a comfortable posture, usually something where you're sitting upright, kind of with dignity. And then you'll close your eyes. And for this one that we'll try is you just put one hand in the other in your lap. So you might put your right hand on your left hand and just let that sit in your lap. And then if you wish, you can close your eyes and you can let your mind go where it will. So you might notice that you're having thoughts. That's okay. You might become aware of some feelings, or perhaps there's a memory that shows up. Or you might feel things or hear things. You might notice your breath. And it's all good. So we'll just sit like this for a couple minutes. And so you might start off sitting and you might notice what it feels like to have your right hand, the back of your right hand on the palm of your left hand. And you might put your attention on what your hands feel like. And then maybe you get restless or bored or confused or sleepy or something else. And whatever you feel is okay. You don't have to do anything about it. So you may just watch the thoughts or notice the feelings. And maybe you might at some point decide to bring your attention back to your hands. And you can let your attention go where it wants to go, wherever it's drawn. So we'll go for about one more minute. And just notice what you notice. Feel what you feel. And whatever it is, it's okay. If you notice thoughts, you can just watch the thoughts. It's natural. You might put your attention on your hands, or maybe your breath. And when you're ready, you can slowly come back. If your eyes are closed, you can gently open them. Maybe you want to take a big cleansing breath. You might want to lift your arms up and exhale so you can stay awake. Do you want to see if you have any questions about that? About what we just did? Suzanne? can unmute. Okay. I'm not hearing Suzanne. I don't know if Justin, if you want to ask someone else.
Hi,
Oh, okay, there's Suzanne.
it's
Hi.
Erica.
Oh, okay.
Erica. That's
Okay.
okay. I have a question.
Yes.
I have some anger problems I have to solve.
Mhm.
What do I do about that?
Well, all these practices that we're doing can help along with other things that you might try. Taking time, taking deep breaths. If you notice you're starting to feel angry, one of the things you might do is just notice what you feel. Just kind of watch the feelings and take some deep breaths. And that may be something that helps to feel less angry.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome. Justin, you want to call on someone who hasn't asked a question yet, maybe?
Yep. We're going to ask Megan if she wants to ask a question.
Yeah, so when it comes to any of the mindfulnesses and meditations that we just went over, even right now, I wanted to ask, like, when it comes to relaxations, like when you're laying down, like bed or something, how can that help you reduce anything to like what we feel? Like in certain way.
Okay, your sound got a little choppy. So if I understood your question, you're asking, if you lay down or something and you pay attention, how can that help to lessen certain things you're feeling? And
yeah,
one of the things,
yeah.
So one of the things that happens is if you notice, like if we get angry, for example, and then we start going a little faster and thinking things, and then we say something that could maybe make it worse. So if we slow down and we just notice what we're feeling and we breathe, that might help us to be less angry or less upset.
Yeah, and like when you're like on electronic or something, if it's at night and you start to use it and you feel that way, what can I do?
Well, one of the amazing things about a lot of these practices is it gives us a break from being on electronics and screens and lets us let our brain have a rest. Thank you. Thanks for your question. Okay,
Billy, how many more questions?
Maybe one more question.
Okay. Damien, you can ask your question.
Hi. I have like a problem, like I get very nervous during like tests and stuff. I was just wondering how do I fix that?
Well, two things. For any time that we feel anxious or nervous, if we practice meditating a little bit, even like in the morning, for example, that can help us be a little bit more calm throughout the day. And then maybe before we take a test or before we compete in a sport, if we take some moments and maybe practice centering. So we bring our attention not so much to what we're thinking, we let that go, and we put our attention on, what am I feeling? I pay attention to my length. What am I feeling? What do I sense? To my width, to my depth, to my center. Breathe. That can help with whatever's getting in the way, if we're thinking too much or we're nervous or something like that. All right, so we'll move on a little bit more. There's a couple of fancy words for two different kinds of meditation. So one that's called Samatha is about calming ourselves. So when we just sit and we just let ourselves, like we just practice, let our mind do what it does, everything's okay, can be a great way to become more calm, to be more centered, more peaceful, more relaxed. And then this other kind of meditation called Vipassana is about becoming more aware, being able to put our attention on something and hold our attention to develop awareness. So we might notice what's going on with us or what we're thinking or feeling. So a few things just to say about mindfulness is it tends to help people feel more self-compassion, more well-being, and less stressed. And one of the things we often do is we're not as kind to ourselves as we might be. So self-compassion is about self-kindness, recognizing we all have challenges, our common humanity, and practicing mindfulness. So all those things can help us to reduce our suffering. That we find when people practice mindfulness, they tend to feel better, have more well-being, and have less stress. They feel more positive, more healthy, and tends to help people in both their mental and physical health. Okay, so I have an assignment for anyone who wants to practice this. There's a famous mindfulness practice. When you learn mindfulness, they give you a raisin and they tell you to smell the raisin. And then you put the raisin in your mouth and you just kind of taste it a little bit. And then maybe you chew it ever so slowly. Well, you can do that. There's nothing wrong with raisins, but I think I've got a better one. Just get rid of the raisin and get yourself some chocolate.
Ay, cómo se bate, chocolate. Ay, cómo se huele, chocolate. Ay, cómo se bebe, chocolate.
So you get some chocolate and then you put it in your mouth and you smell it and you taste it and you really pay attention. So you mindfully eat your chocolate. I don't know if you've ever done that, where you have something really good to eat, where you don't even bother to notice. Maybe you're too busy, doing something with your phone, or you're talking to someone, you don't even notice what you're eating. So you can enjoy some chocolate and practice some mindfulness. So I don't know if you want to try this, Justin, is to do some breakout rooms and people can tell each other maybe, what did you get from the session? And maybe something that you'll try out. So you might say, oh, I'm going to practice centering, or I'm going to try some meditation, or maybe I'll see if I can do that thing with the chocolate. And you might say, all right, well, I'll do this every day for 5 minutes this coming week. Whatever it might be, it's all okay. So does that work to maybe put people in groups of 4 or so, just for?
Yep, we have 68 participants in right now.
Yeah, so roughly, 3 or 4 people, and just so they have time for a minute or so each, if that.
I will make 14 rooms. Okay, and here we go.
So are people getting moved automatically? Is that how you did it?
Yep. So
Just have to
they'll
accept
have
the prompt?
something pop up on their screen that they can
Yeah.
choose to join.
So I would just, like, if your thing gives you an extra minute after you close it, is maybe just wait about a minute and then close the breakouts.
Okay. I'm going to bounce into a few different rooms just so I can see what's going on.
Okay. Maybe I'll jump in. If anybody who's not joining has a question, so anyone who's still in the main room here, if you have a question, you can raise your hand or yeah. So if your system is like mine, Justin, if you click close rooms, it'll give another 60 seconds. All right. I think just about everybody's back. Okay, so somebody had asked about the password. So the password is up on the screen for this session. Your password is 7 basketballs. 7 basketballs. All right, before we finish, we have a few minutes if you have any final questions. Justin had his hand up before.
Hi, just one more for me. When coming back to the centering, why do we breathe in through like the belly and the center of us? And is there a difference when we breathe in through the lung when we're practicing these things? Or
Well, one thing I'd say is I think it's good to try things and see what works for you. Usually by breathing in through the nose is more calming. So if you take a nice slow breath in through your nose, and if you feel like you're breathing in through your belly, the deeper your breath is also more calming. When people are stressed or anxious, their breathing starts to get more shallow and stays more high in their chest.
okay.
So taking those deeper belly breaths tends to be more calming.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Cassie, do you want to ask your question?
My question is reading also good for like relaxing and everything?
I think it sure can be. Yeah.
Awesome. Laura, do you want to ask a question?
Yeah. Okay. Hi.
Hi.
So my question is with mindfulness, because I think this goes with it. How do you prepare for the unexpected? Like, how do you prepare? Like, if someone tells you that someone passed away, like, how do you prepare for something that you don't expect to hear?
Yeah. So one of the things you could say is if you do something like practice meditation, that it's like if every day you clear your system a little bit, just like brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
Well, then when you get a surprise or something unexpected or something bad happens,
yeah,
you're more resilient, like you're more able to respond well when life is challenging.
yeah.
Like if we don't do anything to deal with the stresses of every day and we build up our stress, then when something unexpected happens, we react more, than if we manage it and we keep ourselves practicing so that we're more able to deal with the things that we can't plan for.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
We will do 2 more questions, Billy. Does that work?
Hey, yeah.
Okay, Danielle, you can ask your question.
Hi, Billy.
Hi, Danielle.
I'm just wondering if I'm having a bad bowling game, how should I refocus so my next game is better?
Yeah, whenever we have anything, in any sport or in life, when something goes bad, we want to let it go. The more we can let it go, then we're back in the present. If we're thinking about the mistake we made or the bad game we had, it's like a monkey on our back, and if you had a monkey on your back, it'd be really hard to bowl the next game. So the more you can say, you know what, that happened, or that was a mistake, or that was a bad game, or whatever it is, and we let that go, put it aside, and then we bring ourselves back. Okay, what's my next action? What's the thing I can do now? That tends to help us.
And my other part is, what other activities like use meditation in their practice? I know I've done a bit of Tai Chi before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lots of things. Like we can make anything mindful, right? Something like Tai Chi or yoga is really built for that. But we could be mindful when we're walking, or we could be thinking about everything else. So we can practice just about anywhere.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed your session. You taught me a lot tonight.
Great.
Bye.
So one last question.
Matthew, you can ask the last question.
How do we learn how to be aware of mindfulness?
How do we learn to
be aware of mindfulness?
Be aware of mindfulness. It's like anything else is to practice, right? So if you take time and you notice, oh, I'm thinking about all kinds of other stuff, then you can practice noticing, oh, I'm paying attention to right now, to what I feel, or maybe my breath. So thank you. And thank you all for all your great questions. Thank you for trying the different practices, and I hope you take away something that you can try and get the benefit of practicing.
Awesome. I want everyone to give a big thumbs up to Billy.
Oh,
You can also
just a
say a
minute.
big thank you and
Thank
let
you.
Billy know you
Thank
appreciate
Thanks,
the
you.
session.
Billy. Thank you.
Thank
Just a minute.
Thank you,
you.
Billy.
Just a minute.